The year is 2005. A new site called YouTube has just been founded. Nintendo is working on a new console codenamed Revolution. And somewhere in Chicago, a child has just received a copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube. That kid was me. In those early days, the game was kind of a mess. The de facto way to play was a 4-player free-for-all with items on medium and random stages. In this primordial soup of a platform fighter, the difference between life and death was often a dice roll. The game's notoriously strict controls meant that it often resembled a mosh pit more than a battlefield. And between the constantly changing stages and the game's habit of spawning bombs inside of you, you had about equal odds of dying to random chance as you did to an opponent. Fast forward 20 years, and I'm still playing Melee. It's changed a lot over the years, driven by a passionate community with an undying love for the game, and is nearly unrecognizable compared to the creator's original intent. Like most modern players, I mostly stick to the tournament standard rule set. 4 stocks, 6 stages, no items. This was designed for competitive play, and is arguably the best way to experience what Melee has to offer, but I've still got a soft spot for the crazy shit. When I play with my friends, we usually round out a session with some items, wacky stages, or just generally stupid gameplay. A couple of years ago, we discovered one specific combination of character matchup and stage that's just way funnier than everything else, and it's been our way of rounding out a session ever since. I want to share it with you guys, partly because I hope some of y'all will play it, and also because I think it'll just be interesting to talk about. It's Ganon versus Ganon on Green Greens. If your first reaction to that information is, what the heck is Green Greens? You're in for a treat, because it's absolutely insane. It is by far the most cursed stage in Melee, and has some of the wildest interactions you can find in the game. I'll be doing a deep dive into it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we can talk about the stage, we gotta know who we're playing on it. And today, we're talking about
Ganondorf.
Ganon belongs to the video game archetype that I like to refer to as big dudes. There's probably like an actual name for it, but you already know the kind of guys I'm talking about. Potemkin, Tiny, Bowser, Zangief, Havel, Mr. X, the Heavy. These guys wear their designs on their massive sleeves. They aren't winning any awards for speed, but they can take a ton of damage, and when they do get their hands on you, you'll feel it. Most games give their big beefy boys unique tools like healing, buffs, and armor to help them work their bulk. Melee is not one of those games. Let me preface this by saying, I like Ganon. He's a lot of fun to play, and when he jumps, he goes "Tuck." His movement tech is super smooth, and there are few things more satisfying than landing a good stomp read. He's basically the definition of a cool character, even if he isn't necessarily a very good one. In fact, if you're familiar with the later Smash games, you probably know that he's one of the worst characters in the entire series. But in Melee, he's actually a mid-tier. They even managed to program most of his moves correctly. But here's the thing, Melee is a game largely defined by its speed. And in Melee, Ganon is defined by his lack of it. His ground moves have long startups and lots of end lag. And while his aerials are deceptively quick, remember that he's in a game where this exists. Strong moves just don't do very much when they're being beaten by faster ones, or evaded and punished while you're vulnerable. The real problem, though, is that this compounds with his second and more severe weakness, his movement speed. Let me put it this way. If you're looking at the wiki and you want to know how fast his dash, run, walk, or aerial drift speed are, you gotta scroll all the way down. His advanced movement options, specifically his wave dash and waveland, are surprisingly okay, and give him burst movement options that can catch people off guard. But both of those require him to go through his entire jump squat animation anytime he wants to do one. And the best thing I can say about that jump squat is, well, at least he's not Bowser. So what's all this mean? I mean, how much does it influence the way he plays? A lot. Many characters will outspeed him, outrange him, or sometimes both. The end result is that against a good chunk of the cast, instead of doing all the cool stuff, Ganon's gameplay can end up looking like you're doing a Hungrybox impression. This even ends up bleeding into his main selling point, his high damage, since he often sends opponents too far for him to effectively follow up on. Now, it may sound like I'm kinda just shitting on Ganon, but that's only because I am. Playing Ganon against Melee's top tiers is still fun, but it's like the Dark Souls naked club-only kind of fun. So, to summarize, Ganon's a blast to play, but his speed problem ends up crippling him against a lot of opponents. But with all that information in mind, let me pose a hypothetical. What if, instead of some coked out top tier, we pair him against someone more his speed? The Ganon Ditto is, at least in my opinion, one of the funniest and most fun matchups in the entire game. It's got this perfect mix of letting you play with Melee's movement and combo game, while also encouraging both players to go for insane and stupid shit. I've been trying to figure out what makes this matchup in particular so entertaining, and I think I've narrowed it down to two main reasons. The first is that Ganon absolutely destroys Ganon. You know how I was just saying that Ganon can struggle to follow up on punishes because he sends opponents flying too far? It's completely different in the Ganon Ditto. His strong moves match up perfectly against his high weight, and the fact that you're using giant hitboxes against a giant target make it pretty trivial to keep stringing moves together. He has tools to launch, juggle, tech chase, edgeguard, and even kind of shield pressure himself. Oh, and he can chain grab himself, but you didn't hear that from me. The amount of tools he has against himself, and the relative ease of using them, means that you can get really stupid with how you play the Ditto, and still get away with it. Feel like just mashing the A button? We call that shield pressure. You wanna kill somebody with his aerial side B? That's kinda weird, dude. But yeah, you can do that. You wanna land a Warlock punch? Well, it sure would be convenient if your opponent had a recovery move with a full second of end lag on it. You literally have time to use any move you want. I mean shit, sometimes you don't even need to use a move to kill him. And that brings me to the second reason Ganon Dittos are amazing. Ganon's moves encourage stupid gameplay, and that's especially true in the Ditto. I think the developers knew what they were doing when they gave Ganon not one but two insanely long charge-up insta-kill moves. You might be thinking, well, clearly they're meant to be used with the freeze block item or something. No. It's for this. But it's not just those intentionally goofy moves. Let's take a look at one of his other specials, his down B, Wizard's Foot. First off, he's obviously having the time of his life using this move. Look at that smile. The move is basically just a big cylinder that kills you if you touch it. On the ground, it sends upwards and outwards, but in the air, it becomes one of only 4 true spikes in the entire game. The crazy knockback and the angle it sends at means that if you get hit with this offstage, you immediately die. But the super high end lag and the position it puts Ganon in means that if you whiff it, you immediately die. If you're playing Ganon, you're already sacrificing efficacy for style, and this move is the embodiment of that mindset. But when you have 2 Ganons trying to land this on each other, the game can get real stupid real quick. Alright, so I had a bunch of other stuff I wanted to go over in this segment. His goofy ass jab, his side B killing him if you whiff it, being able to edgeguard him with his own up B, his forward tilt and spot dodge having matching lengths, this shit. But as much as I'd like to ramble on about those, I don't have all day, neither do you. Let's talk about stages. Like I mentioned earlier, the standard rule set allows for 6 legal stages. And out of those stages, Ganon Dittos are usually the most fun on Yoshi's. But that's just the legal stages. For the full experience, we need to look outside the standard stage list, into the cursed world of illegal stages. There's some real jank down here, but one stage stands out above everything else. Green Greens. And this stage is fucked. All of Melee's stages are at least a little jank. That's not a complaint, it's not an opinion, it's just a fact. It varies, obviously. Some of them just have slightly inconsistent platform lengths, while others are known for more significant flaws.
For the first time, could we see... Oh! What the hell? Are you kidding me?
In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find a stage that doesn't have some strange, unique interaction. I wonder why. But with that being said, if we consider the ratio of total stage size to how janky the stage is, I'd argue that pound for pound, Green Greens is the most jank stage in the game. It's so unpredictable, so chaotic, and just so weird that half of the fun of playing Green Greens is finding out what insane shit is going to happen to you this time. But what makes this stage so janky? Well, let's start with something small. This is an apple. These are a unique item only found on green greens, and they spawn in random batches throughout the game. Unlike the other food items, these are meant to be picked up and thrown at your opponents. As far as projectiles go, they're okay. They do enough knockback to be useful, but not enough to be anything truly special. Don't get me wrong, you could do some cool stuff with them. They're just towards the lower end of Melee's projectile power levels. So the stage gives you a mediocre projectile. What's the big deal? Well, when these apples spawn in, they act as though they were just thrown, which means they have their hitboxes turned on. They spawn half a second after the tree starts shaking, and their hitboxes stay active way after they've already hit the ground. You can also get hit by any number of them while they're falling, so if you're unlucky enough, the stage can straight up combo you. That's not even the wildest part about the apples though. I guess the devs felt like random swarms of attack apples was too tame or something, because for whatever reason, there's a random chance that any given apple will explode. This is completely random, and there's nothing to indicate if an apple is normal or explosive. They look identical. This is pretty rare, but that just makes it funnier when it does happen. Now, when I said we'll start small, I meant it. Believe it or not, the apples, the ones that fly around, combo you, and explode, are one of the least fucked up things about this stage. Let's take a look at something a little more spicy.
Bombs?
When you hear the phrase bombs in Melee, you might think of something like Link's down B, Samus's down B, or even Peach's down B. But the bombs on green greens are nothing like anything you'd see in a normal game of Melee. Given that they're bombs, you can probably guess what happens if you hit one of them. It's not uncommon for stocks to just end, because one or both players chose to attack the bomb. That's just the surface level though. The deeper details are what really make the bombs, and the stage as a whole, the beautiful mess that it is. That's a loaded statement though, so let's unpack that a little. There's 3 things you need to know about the bombs on green greens: how they interact with shields, how they interact with players, and how they interact with other stage elements. Let's start with shields. The shield is one of Melee's strongest tools. The concept is simple. Someone tries to hit you, you hold R, and they hold that L. Generally speaking, no matter how powerful a move is in Melee, shielding will outright beat it. It always comes out on the first possible frame, and the reward you get for someone hitting your shield is often pretty high. The result is that a lot of players will tend to sit in shield whenever they feel threatened. But here's the thing, green greens bombs go through shields. Let me be clear, I don't mean that they shield poke easily or that they do a ton of shield damage. They literally ignore shields. That might sound kind of fucked up, and it is, but it's actually really important. Getting grabbed and thrown into a bomb will also detonate it, which means that shielding near a bomb becomes a really risky idea. Stack that on top of the tiny stage size, and the end result is that green greens is way more aggressively slanted than any other stage. To show you what I mean, let's run through an example of how it plays out. Let's say our boy Link here gets cornered by a certain evil wizard. He has a few options. Put up his shield, roll away to gain some distance, try to roll past him, gamble on a spot dodge, or try to fight his way out. The first 2 options are usually the go-to. They're relatively safe and can put you in a better position. Now, let's place a comically oversized green greens bomb next to him. The first 2 options just cease to exist. The only options left over are the risky ones. And if you have to choose a risky option, why not go for something that has high reward if you guess right? It seems small, but it's honestly a really cool way of keeping both players constantly in the action. It can get a little disorienting, but it keeps the stage fun, interactive, and very unique. The second thing to know about the bombs is how they affect players. Obviously, if you hit one at high percent, you die. But most of the bomb's knockback is set as scaled knockback, which is knockback that scales with your percent. At low percent, you still get launched, but it won't be lethal. This means that you can use the bombs as movement. If you hit your opponent at the same time, you can even set up combos with them. This may be the sickest way to end a stock on green greens, so if the people you're playing with are crazy enough, you're gonna be seeing this a lot. I'd be lying if I said that's the most relevant use case though, because the bomb's real purpose is to make weird shit happen.
Incredible. Ow!
If a bomb lands on your head while it's falling, it will immediately explode. That's pretty nuts on its own. But it gets more insane when you remember that these are randomly spawning throughout the entire game, and they're not always visible. This behavior turns them into an absolute force of chaos. A bomb in the right place at the right time can do pretty much anything. It could send you flying into the stratosphere, stage spike you, extend a combo, save you from a combo, or turn a stray hit into an immediate KO. This clip reel I'm playing is a fraction of the wild things I've seen the bombs do. And when the stars align, you can get stuff like this.
Oh my god!
There's only one consistent thing about the falling bombs. No matter what, they're gonna get you when you least expect it.
Did I not get bombs on my way? Oh my fucking god!
And last but not least, the bombs also interact with the rest of the stage. We already went over some of the ways the apples set off the bombs, but there's one last major stage element we haven't touched on yet. Let's talk blocks. They're tiny, slightly rounded, and constantly falling. They only fall within these two specific channels of the stage, but even that tiny amount of space has huge consequences, because get this, the blocks on green greens always have their collision turned on. This is the only stage in the game where this happens, and the results are extremely strange. Any interaction between a player and a surface can be done with the blocks. This includes all forms of teching, ceiling techs, wall jump techs, and even floor techs. But more importantly, it also includes missed techs. Getting launched into a block will make you rebound off of it at an arbitrary angle, depending on where you hit it and what angle you came in at. The results are never the same, and range all the way from instant death to, nah, actually this is my combo now. Just like the bombs, these things spawn off screen, so there's really no way to predict what'll happen. Anyways, next point. The other thing you can do with blocks is hit them. Any move works as long as it's not a grab. When a character hits another character in Melee, both characters are temporarily frozen to give the hit more visual weight, a mechanic called hit lag. All hitboxes and hurtboxes are frozen in time during hit lag, so a move can end up lasting way longer than normal if it has to go through multiple people. Why am I telling you this? Well, the blocks on green greens experience hit lag individually. Every block you hit extends the duration of your move, and there's no limit to how many you can hit with a single attack. This can get kind of ridiculous when you use big moves that have a lot of hit lag. While you're doing this though, your opponent is completely unaffected by it. It's just between you and the blocks. Like the rest of green greens, this can either end up fucking you over, or you can exploit this knowledge to stunt on your friends. It wouldn't be Melee without the jank having its own jank though, and there's another layer to this whole block hit lag thing. Most characters have at least one ground move that hits directly beneath them. If you use one of these moves while you're standing on a block, the block will naturally break. When this happens, the game will notice that you're using a ground move but not standing on anything, and decides to handle the conflict. It puts you into the fall animation, which is the same animation you get by just regularly jumping, meaning you're allowed to do pretty much anything you want. Because you go from doing an attack to can do any attack, it opens up a bunch of combo possibilities that aren't normally possible. But as cool as that mechanic is, it's also on green greens. This is not always going to be something you're using to style on people. Sometimes the stage will be styling on you. Any hitbox, including apples and explosions, can break the blocks. I've lost count of the number of times where 1 second I'm standing on a block and the next I'm plummeting to my death. Thank you, green greens. Okay. I've been talking for a while now, and I do want to talk about why Ganon Dittos in particular work so well on green greens, but I've barely scratched the surface of how cursed this stage is. I've only shown you the big stuff. What I'm going to do is pick out and show some of the more interesting bugs and interactions from my massive list, and I'll have the rest of the stuff scrolling past on the right. If you're curious about one of the items I didn't show, feel free to post it in the comments, and I'll reply with an explanation. Sound good? Cool.
Falcon kick!
So we got the Green Greens and we got the Ganons. Independently, they're both ridiculous, but when you put them together, you get one of the funniest and most insane setups you can have in Melee. It's more than just a sum of its parts. The stage's tiny size gives Ganon's absurd knockback a chance to shine. The walls and bombs form an arena that forces you to play proactively. The hit lag interactions are amped by its high hit lag moves, and the falling block and bomb interactions literally happen more often because Ganon is such a big target. The stage also spawns both players within the range of each other's Wizard's Foot, which makes for a really stupid opening gambit. But on top of all of that, there's a couple things specific to Ganon on Green Greens that truly makes it an experience of its own. The first, and my personal favorite, is that Ganon can absolutely schmooze on Green Greens. I mentioned this a while back, but there's a huge difference between regular Ganon movement and advanced Ganon movement. Ganon's defining movement technique is the 0-degree waveland. Under normal circumstances, a waveland is performed by air dodging at a diagonal angle, which carries over some momentum to the air dodge. You do it diagonally because if you just go straight right or left, you just do an air dodge. But if you make Ganon go straight right or left, his sheer bulk makes him clip into the ground when he starts air dodging, giving him a massive burst of speed. This is a big deal for a character who desperately needs movement speed, so having access to 0-degree wavelands gives Ganon a huge upgrade. This is a stage-dependent technique though, and his ability to waveland around a stage varies based on its layout and platform lengths. Coincidentally, Green Greens is one of the fastest stages for Ganon. On top of that, Green Green's tiny size amplifies this to an absurd degree. Between wavelands and other techniques like teeter canceling and shield dropping, Ganon has access to nearly the entire stage at a moment's notice. That's crazy for a character whose best approach option is frequently just don't. His moves themselves even get better. 3 of his 5 aerials will automatically perform an auto cancel on Green Green's platforms, which cuts their end lag by more than half. And although it's more stylish than practical, the platforms just happen to be the perfect length for a side B edge cancel. Unless you get blocked by a block. Oh yeah, we should probably talk about that. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little. It's a pretty even matchup for Ganon, as long as you're playing on point. But the blocks are surprisingly lethal for him in particular. Unlike most of the cast, Ganon's up B is a grab rather than an actual attack. Remember how I said that attacks break blocks, but grabs don't? This seemingly small detail means that if Ganon falls under one of the block channels, even for a second, it may just straight up kill him. This happens so often that my friends and I just call it getting sealed in. It will happen to you. His up B isn't the only issue he has with the blocks either. His intrinsic size also causes some problems. He's so wide that when you're below the blocks, you have a really high chance of bonking your head on one. This will usually instantly kill you if you're not ready for it. And even if you are ready for it, you've already committed the sin of being below the blocks, and we already know how that ends. That's all just below the blocks. When he's on top of the blocks, he still has issues. They're just a little weirder. When the blocks are in one of these L formations, which is nearly all of the time, his body is just too big to do anything besides like jab and grab. If he tries to do anything else, he'll just end up pushing himself off of it. This is because depending on what animation he's doing, his environmental collision box, which is this little diamond that's used to calculate collision, can contort confusingly and cause collision conflicts. That ECB can end up either bigger or smaller than one of the blocks, and that leads to some really strange clipping issues. Like this one, where Ganon manages to squeeze through a gap he really has no right getting through. Or this one, where the game thinks our characters are actually flat for a couple of frames. There are about this many different possible block configurations, not counting bombs. So if you play this matchup long enough, there's a good chance you'll see something that nobody else ever has.
There we go.
This is so fucking weird.
If you ever get a hankering for some low-stakes, stupid melee, I really hope you try some Green's Ganon Dittos. It's at the very least good enough that someone decided to make a 25-minute video about how funny it is, so that can serve as your baseline metric. Speaking of which, I'm assuming if you made it all the way here, you enjoyed the video. So if you want to like it, sub to the channel, etc., the algorithm boost does actually help a lot. This is my first time doing content like this, and I'm considering doing more, so if you have any sort of feedback, positive or negative, feel free to post it in the comments, which I do check. Thanks.